What's going on, everybody? JHow here, and in this Heroes of the Storm video, we're going to talk about Diablo Dibbles, the Lord of Terror, and his rework, because we've seen some changes and a massive overhaul to this hero. We're going to talk about the build that a lot of the pros are using and one way to be most effective with Diablo. So we'll cover the build as well as some tips as we get into this guide for Heroes of the Storm. So first things first, at level 1, there are options here. Normally, Devil's Due is still going to be your go-to. Getting this is old school, this is classic. Getting the increased effect off regen globes and healing fountains does keep you alive. There are certain maps that this might not be as advantageous. And then you look at something like Feast on Fear, which when you stun an enemy hero with Shadow Charge or Overpower, you're going to heal up over time. Now, this is something to make note of for your long-term strategy, because if you go into that build at 13 and 16, which we'll get to later, to where you reset your Shadow Charge with Overpower, this might be the talent choice to go with, strictly because you need to use this on certain maps. Something like Cursed Hollow, where you know you're going to get easy terrain to get value out of those stuns, it's possible to go this. Devil's Due, generally going to be your number 1 option. Feast on Fear, your secondary option, maybe your primary option, depending on your long-term plans, and also depending on the map. If you're going up against a heavy mage composition, you might want to use Soul Shield, something that can also keep you alive, but for general purposes, Devil's Due, always safe to go with. At level 4, Souls to the Flame. There's really not a whole lot else you can go here. There are some other options, but the impact of this is pretty significant. Getting 1 soul every 3 times it damages an enemy and heals for an additional 1.3 of its damage dealt per soul. This synergizes with the build as we go forward, but also you're going to find ways to get this to reset. You're going to find multiple ways to throw this out, and then also you're going to boost up its damage with this build. And because we're in such a melee heavy meta with double melee in almost every single game, hitting the Souls to the Flame is very easy to do, to stack this as well as get that healing output, and this is just way too good to pass up with this build, and you're going to find yourself extremely tanky as this goes on. Coupling that level 4, you're going to go Eternal Flames at level 7. Whenever you do stun an enemy hero with Shadow Charge or Overpower, which is pretty easy to do with Overpower since it's a guaranteed, you reset the cooldown of Firestomp. And this is a way, again, it synergizes really well with your level 4, so you can Overpower W again and just continue to put those flames out. So it'd be Flames, Overpower, in any form or fashion. Shadow Charge, eventually you start to figure out when you're flipping them over, you want to cast your Firestomp in one direction or another, try and take advantage, manipulate your hero, move around, and try and take advantage of using this build to keep yourself extra tanky on the front line. This is your number 1 option. Very rarely you're going to go anything else, especially when you pick the Firestomp up at level 4. You're just not going to find another option there. So obviously the heroics are very different now than what we are traditionally used to, because Lightning Breath is now new meta. We just saw a recent nerf go down to 70 seconds. It's still incredibly strong. You were never really going to get much out of this, and the damage that you got was not that great. Now you have it to where it also slows, so that means that you can get more damage out of it, but it's more about control. You're also unstoppable when you cast this. So if you're going against something like a Deckard Cain who's going to stay a while and listen, there's a wind up on that. So you simply press your R key and then aim it directly at Deckard. He can't interrupt the channel because you are unstoppable while casting it, and you trade off the effect of, if you're going to sleep everybody, I'm going to do damage. There are multiple uses to use the unstoppable, but it's really about the control over that front line. The range on this and the width on this is pretty strong, and it gives you an opportunity to control the front line against the enemy team and also allow your teammates to set up. You should never really be doing this for a primary source of damage. You should be helping your team with this. It kind of is strong enough now to where you are going to get value damage-wise, but it's also to set up your team to get value out of the slow for them to do easy damage. There's a lot of use there. APOC, again, this is kind of taking a back seat. It's still really strong at times, but the old Devastating Charge combo that we used to see to power into this, to get those one-shots, it's not really there anymore. We saw a recent cooldown on the heroic itself down to 90 seconds, and we might still see changes even after this video. But the control that it gets versus Lightning Breath is a lot different. That slow on Lightning Breath and the zoning control tends to win out a little bit more than APOC. There are situations for APOC, they're just a lot less now with Lightning Breath being this strong of a heroic. So moving to level 13, Hellfire, again, going W build is incredibly strong. We already talked about the advantages of getting the heal off of it, but also getting the heal off of the damage dealt. that is where it comes in. And this, each enemy hero hit by Firestomps grants 10 or 2% spell power for 10 seconds up to 30%. And since you're getting the reset at level 7, you can get multiple Firestomps out to stack this up and then really do that damage and then amplify that healing. So the synergy is natural between that 4 and 7 and then coupling it here at 13. Now the other option is that you can still go into 4 and 7 is strong enough, and if you feel like you need to get onto backliners, you need to get on squishies, Devastating Charge was changed pretty drastically, but it's still very strong. And again, it's going to be more map dependent, making sure you can get value off of this. But increasing the collision damage is definitely a thing. If you're going to go this, then you're going to pair it with the 16 reset. If not, obviously W build is really strong, but Devastating Charge does have a place. Just make sure you're going to be on a map where you know team fights are going to happen, that you get value out of that, and it's much easier to stun. Because if you don't get this stacked up and you don't have the stun opportunities, it is going to be difficult. From the shadows, the old build that we know at level 4, it's not a thing anymore. So W build, extremely safe, extremely powerful, and it's something to take advantage of. But if you are going to be more aggressive to control different areas of the map, Devastating Charge, very strong. And then moving directly into level 16, Debilitating Flames. Again, if you're going W build, this is really strong. You already have the healing, you already have the resets off of your level 7, and then now you have the opportunity, you get the spell power. This is going to do even more. You get more slows, which is good for several heroes in the game to set up skill shots, to do damage off of. But it also reduces damage. So heroes that you can stack up against, again, pairing this with the level 7, getting the reset, you have more opportunities to get the slow with your Firestomp. Just hitting everybody. Obviously, this is much easier to hit on melee, but hitting multiple Firestomps out gives you more opportunities to get the slows, and then the more slows you get, if you can get that up to 25%, those heroes are going to do 50% less damage, which is pretty impactful in a team fight. So not only are you controlling the area, healing up, getting stuns, getting more spell power and healing, but you're also now reducing enemy damage, and you're also slowing them. All around, it's making Diablo super tanky, more of a utility-based hero, but very strong and almost unkillable, especially when he's at max souls. Again, if you went Devastating Charge at 13, Domination is very strong because whenever you cast Overpower, it resets the cooldown of Shadow Charge, so you can Shadow Charge in, Overpower, and then Shadow Charge again. And that is one of the ways that you can really get control. Again, it is somewhat map dependent, or at least area dependent, to make sure that you have structures to use this, so keep that in mind when you are going this build. Level 20, well, there are some options here, and I think it's really going to depend on enemy composition and really what you want to get out of this. Hellstorm, Lightning Breath lasts 200% longer. This is incredibly strong in certain situations. It creates an area that makes it almost incapable to walk into, and it lasts for forever, it seems like. So this is one way to get control with that Lightning Breath upgrade. However, Lord of Terror and Hellgate both have very good options. Lord of Terror itself, activate to steal 10% of the max health of nearby enemy heroes and gain 5 souls per hero hit. This is very strong in the late game. It's more tankiness, more survivability. Again, you're getting so much out of the talents and your regular abilities that it sometimes is just better to stay alive because you're going to continue to get value out of that. And getting more healing and more souls to make you even tankier, this is a very good level 20 pickup. Hellgate is an opportunity to give you more mobility, even dive onto that back line. If you picked up the Overpower, the Devastating Charge combo at 13-16, getting into position with Hellgate alone is one of those ways to blink onto somebody, bang them into a wall, and then overpower them back in to that area where that demonic rune is going to come in. So there are different ways to take advantage of this. This one is a little bit more skill-based to get the full combo, but you can get value out of every single level 20. I would caution that Lord of Terror is going to be the much safer option, and it's very easy to get value out of to stay alive in fights. Hellgate, very easy to get out of fights or to get in to make plays. And then Hellstorm, well, depending on the map and depending on the area, you might need this. There are ways to use this, including Infernal Shrines, where if it's a late game shrine clear, you stand off to the side and you breathe that fire all over those bad boys and control that area and give your team an advantage. So there are pros and cons to each talent at this level, but there are different ways to make sure to get value out of every single one of them. And that's pretty much Diablo in a nutshell. If you want to be the tanky, super control style Diablo, this W build is very strong between 4, 7, 13, and 16. I went over the options, and of course the options at level 1. This hero despite a little bit of the changes that we saw have a huge drawback to his old build, it seems to be coming into form, and this hero gets stronger and stronger as people learn the new playstyle, and this is definitely one of the ways to get the most value out of Diablo. So that's going to do it for this Heroes of the Storm Diablo video. Be sure and subscribe for more Heroes videos in the future, as well as other gaming content. As always, happy hunting. See you next time.